Hello my friends and welcome to the shop. Buck Weezer, Buck Small Engine DIY on YouTube. The Briggs V-Twin engine on this Husqvarna mower, it'll start and immediately it will race wildly out of control regardless of the throttle position. And I'm starting to think there's some internal governor problems, and yeah, this one could get interesting, so stay tuned. Alright, so thanks for joining me today. This mower was delivered to me, and ironically it's coming from a shop that fixes automobiles. So they can fix automobiles, but they either don't want to or can't fix their lawnmower. But anyway, it is what it is, and I know a couple of different guys had their hands in it and trying to get it going. I don't know the whole story. I'll never know the whole story. I just know what they told me. It wasn't running right. They tried to put on an aftermarket carburetor, and then that was problematic. They put the old carburetor back on, and now it's racing wildly out of control. They had added an additional spring onto the throttle linkage to keep it from going into full throttle like that. So they weren't sure what they're doing, and admittedly, we can go walk over there and look at it. Admittedly, on those Briggs V-Twins, the throttle linkage, governor linkage, choke, all that stuff here down here is admittedly confusing. And my guess is it didn't get put back correctly. So my first course of action was to try to find out how this is all supposed to be connected, how the governor's supposed to be set, and I did all of that. And fortunately, as it would be, I've got another one of these same engines right here in the shop in running condition. So I was able to compare the two setups so I can get this one back to what it's supposed to be. And then even after doing that, I fired it up, and sure enough, regardless of throttle position, it races wildly out of control to the point that you know if you let it keep going like that, this engine is going to self-destruct. So I think my next course of action is to see if I can poke around inside that engine, drain the oil. I don't know if the governor mechanism in there has broken to bits and is sitting in the bottom of the oil pan, or if it's still pretty much intact but just not working. So I'm going to drain the oil. I'm going to fish a magnet down through there, probably pull this dipstick tube, go in through there, and if necessary maybe use a visual inspection camera. So it should be fun. That's where we're at now, so let's move forward with this. I should mention another consideration sometimes with an engine racing out of control is when the butterfly plate on the throttle comes off. I don't think that's the case, and I know that they had connected a spring here to try to force the they had connected a spring awkwardly in a strange way, so I could find with the attempt to keep the throttle in low. So they connected this spring way down here and then up on here just to keep from racing into high idle. Into high throttle. So I don't think it's a carburetor. I think it's a governor issue. All right, fast forward about an hour. I ended up deciding just to yank the engine out of the tractor. I had wanted to go down the dipstick with my flexible magnet, but I wanted to remove the dipstick, but it bolts underneath this shield here. I'd have to pull the flywheel. Didn't want to mess with that, so I decided let's go through the drain plug hole. But with this guy, I can't even undo on the tractor. It sits down so low on the frame, I couldn't even remove this. So let's just pull the engine out of the tractor and put it up on the table. I guess it took 30 minutes, I moved the deck out of the way, took down the drive pulley, and then 4 bolts disconnected. The wiring harness, the starter wire, On the other side we had the choke, the throttle cable, fuel line, and fuel vent line. That's it. And then just lift it out. So here we are. And I don't know what this is gonna, if anything at all, maybe nothing. But I'm just gonna put my magnetic stick in here, if it even fits. Oh boy, ha! That's the end of that little test. There it is. I go in 2 inches and pull out that piece. You see that? All right. I'm so glad I followed through with that instead of guessing. So I think that confirms for us the reality that I don't even need to go in there any further with the magnet or the scope, do I? That confirms that the words are coming to me. The governor gear mechanism in there has just flown apart, and there's just no way that this thing's going to run. It's not going to run properly till we replace that. And of course, as you probably can figure, glad we pulled it, because that's going to be part of the fix. You're going to have to split the case here, the sump. It shouldn't be too big of a deal, a couple hours, but it'll be interesting, and hopefully that's going to get it back together. I mean, if they want me to do it, I'm pretty sure that the price that I would give them is going to be a lot cheaper than getting a new tractor. But if that's the route we go, I'll bring you along for the ride. All right, welcome back. We've been given the green light to go ahead with this repair. So we got to separate the sump pan from the rest of the engine. Got it leaning back on its side, and I'm going to disconnect the governor here, and then we've got 10 half-inch bolts to take off, and that should be it to separate the engine in half. All right, so we just leave him there out of the way, and then I'll go around and take this off, and then when it's apart, we'll come back together and take a look at inside the engine, and hopefully there's no additional damage beyond the governor mechanism. I don't think there will be, because it still does start and run. All right, so I'll talk to you in a few minutes. Okay, so that wasn't too bad getting it apart. This one, some of the models have a gasket, paper gasket. This one only just had the silicone, and not a whole lot of it, to be honest. But anyway, we found the carnage as we expected. This guy doesn't look to be in very good shape anymore. Washer sitting at the bottom. This looks to be in fine condition. Another broken piece over here. So yeah, it's exactly what we expected it was going to be. And I don't think it's going to be too much of a issue to clean up the mating surface on both the engine and the pan. I've ordered the parts that we would need. So we're going to be moving forward, and when that stuff comes in, we'll turn the camera back on, and we'll install the new governor mechanism. But up to this point, it's been pretty simple to diagnose, and also now to open it up and get the other parts out of there. We'll clean it up, and we'll be ready for the install. One of the things we're going to do as we prepare to reassemble this engine is chase the threads here on the 10 places where our bolt. And this isn't a tap, this is just a thread chaser, and I'm going to put a little bit of oil on it. It's 5/16. And just take it in and out a few times. Just like that, so that the threads are clean and clear of any sealant that may have been in there previously, you know, left over. Maybe just run that in and out a couple of times on each hole. Clean it off. And try it again. And just make sure they're good and clean and ready to go. All right, we're back. It's been a few days. I was waiting for the parts to arrive, so they've come. I've got the governor mechanism, the washer that it sits on, the plunger and ring that are part of it. Got a new axle seal. And those are the new bolts. Not supposed to use the old ones. And what I typically do is it's cheaper to buy the gasket crankcase kit because it comes with the bolts. Even though our model did not use the gasket, it just used the sealant. It's still cheaper to buy the kit with the gasket than it is to buy the bolts separately. So those are the bolts. We've got our torquing instructions and sequence here. Everything's good and clean and ready to go. Over here on the workbench, I'm going to take off the oil pump cover because it's easier to install the sump with that removed. And we're going to install our new axle seal. So we'll do these things up on the workbench, and then we'll be ready to come over here and put it all together. I was able to fish out all the parts, the broken parts. There they are in the little dish as proof that we got it all, including that ring, that retaining ring. So we found it all, and we're ready to assemble. Alright, so let's put on the new governor mechanism. Starts with this washer, and I'm going to put it in a little bit of motor oil. I bought that. I didn't know if I needed to or not. Looks like the old one held up okay, but sometimes you never know when pieces are flying around inside the engine. And then the governor gear drops in like so. Next, we take this tiny little ring, and not sure how far down it goes. Maybe down to there. And he slips down and clips in right there. And now this guy, he, I don't know what you call him. Is he the plunger? But it's kind of like he's got to sit on top of this tab and on top of this tab. I think I got it. So he rises as the spins and these weights fly out, it lifts it up. So that's how that works. So it's not a lot of movement to raise up 3/8 of an inch. But that's it right there. I'm using some solvent on the end of this rag, paint thinner actually, to clean any grease or oil off of the mating surface. I'm going to do this here on the on this and also on the sump pan itself, so that it's clean and oil free. I think I'm ready to carefully put the sump on. I've put some oil on some of the moving parts since it had all kind of run off. I lubricated this shaft here so that we don't mess up our seal as we put that on. And we're gonna be gentle. We'll let that go to voicemail. It's coming down. Hasn't dropped down completely yet. I'm here at the seal. I don't want to screw it up. I don't want to force it. There we go. All right, so when it comes to the bolts, I don't go, it looks like it's got some thread sealant on there already, but I like to use a little bit more. I'm using the blue medium strength and spilling it. I've had troubles in the past with these sump cover jobs and they fail, so I do a couple of things different. I add my own Loctite and I don't rely on the stuff that comes from the factory. And I also torque it a little bit different. I don't know if you can see down there, but the torque spec for this is 325 inch-pounds. And I like to torque it a little bit more than that. You do it in 3 stages, a third, 2/3, and then full. I'm going to not 325, but 360. So divide by 12, I'm going to go 10 foot-pounds, 20, 30 foot-pounds, which is a little more than, see that? It's a little more than what it calls for, but that's just kind of how I've come to do it because of a bad experience in the past where I followed everything to the T and it blew out again. So I take matters into my own hands. So hope that's of some help to you, and hopefully we'll get a good result here as we put this guy together. So I'm going to continue with that, adding a little blue Loctite to each of the bolts, then we'll run them in, and then we'll do a three-stage torque sequence that I feel comfortable with. So the reason I take the oil pump apart before installing the sump is because it makes it easier. because it's driven by the camshaft, and you've got to line this notch up in the groove like that. And you know what else makes me glad that I took this apart? When I did, I found another little piece of metal from the broken governor gear that had gotten in there. So that's kind of good. We got a screen. There we go. And since we had broken the seal on that pump, I like to just put a thin smear of sealant on that rubber part again. Because I don't want it to leak. I really just don't want it to leak. And we can screw these down. And that'll be that. We do still have to connect the governor linkage on the front. But I'm going to turn it right side up at that point to do that. All right. So this is how I set the governor on these Briggs V-Twins. So we want to put the, this is loose, and this governor rod is a 1/4 inch drive. And that's all you get, left to right. You know, you don't get a lot. But you want to put the throttle in full throttle, which would be this, with this flat part horizontal like that. Okay, so this and this is down, so it's got the throttle wide open. Now, you just take your driver and turn it clockwise until it stops. Just that much. It's as far as it can go. And then hold that in place and tighten down this nut. Need a third hand maybe. But that's the idea right there. Oh, let me try a socket. It's a 7/16. All right, and that's it. So now it's set. If you finish up and this doesn't move, and you didn't do it quite right, but this is the way it works. All right, that's that. Well, we got the engine back in the tractor, and I think we're all hooked up, and it's time to see if it wants to cooperate now. Charge the battery. that's it. That sounds pretty good. It's a lot better. It's not racing wild as if it's going to self-destruct. We have throttle control again, so I think we made out pretty good with that repair. Well, that's it. Thanks for joining me today for the repair of the governor gear and mechanism inside that Briggs V-Twin. And I think there's a problem. It happens from time to time. I don't know with this tractor if that was the problem originally and it just broke inside the engine, or if it's the result of other screwing around that they might have been doing. Who knows? But I think we got it worked out, and I think I'm gonna let it sit here overnight. I'll make sure there's no leaks or anything like that, and tomorrow I will call the owner of this tractor and say, back in business, baby. Your comments and questions in the discussion below are, of course, always appreciated. If you don't mind liking, subscribing, sharing, whatever it is, all those fun things that help out my channel, I do appreciate it. Remember, guys, as I conclude, as I always like to say, only you can put the do into do-it-yourself, and hopefully we learned a little something about getting it done ourselves. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.